Here I go.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. We're here with Dr. Norris. I'm so happy and proud he could come today. Um, Dr. Norris had an internship in psychiatry, a residency in physical medicine and rehab. So he's a physiatrist just like me, but has been doing it much longer. He had a fellowship in orthopedics, a fellowship then in interventional spine, doing the procedures that I do all the time as well. 36 years in medical practice, 25 years in spine practice, and many years of meditation in Zen Buddhism and Vipassana insight meditation. He did a 3 month residency at the San Francisco's Zen Center in 1973 and a 30-day retreat at Insight Meditation, which is a well known facility in Western Mass. 7 years of yoga, 3 months of formal TaiChi, 20 plus years of dance, and a couple of months of Aikido, and finally the plant based diet. So we are all on the same page. We believe in the integrative mission. This is a way to bring healing and relaxation and so many benefits, but I think you get the most from real experience. So I will hand it off to Dr. Norris. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming today.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. And I'm also taking my board certification exam in lifestyle medicine in November.
Good luck.
So hopefully, I know it's studying. I'm not accustomed to doing so much studying. This is the most I've studied since I took my national boards, I think, or my board certification in 1986 for PM&R. So anyway, so what do I want to talk about today? I just want to clear that off. So three things that kind of fit together: breathing, Tai Chi breathing exercises, and meditation. But the Tai Chi and the breathing are also meditation. I don't want you to think of them as something that's separate from the meditation, but I do want to talk about a very specific type of meditation. I will do that at the end, that I have found very helpful in my own bouts with chronic pain. I'm not a stranger to chronic pain. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is breathing, or actually to do with you is to do some breathing. Normally when people breathe, we breathe relatively shallowly. And the breathing exercises that I'm doing are to help facilitate deep breathing while also being exercised at the same time, but they're gentle exercise because they're Tai Chi based. This isn't actually Tai Chi, it's Tai Chi based or Tai Chi informed exercises. When you breathe, there are two basic ways to take in air. We can do it by expanding our rib cage, chest breathing, or by pushing down our diaphragm, abdominal breathing. And really, this is doing both at the same time. For the last couple of months, I've been very disciplined about doing something called Wim Hof breathing. I don't know if any of you have come across this, but Wim Hof is this amazing Dutch yogi. I don't know how else to describe him. And I would encourage you to take a look at his breath exercises on YouTube. It's WIM, last name HOF, because they've been a big influence on me. And because he does it very rapidly, at first I thought, oh, this is crazy. But I realized that in order to breathe that deeply, that quickly, you really have to work both your chest muscles and your diaphragm and breathe into your chest and into your abdomen simultaneously. And it really strengthens those muscles because in order to do it as rapidly as he does it, you're really working to get the air in, and it's not a passive exhalation. You're really working to get the air out. We're not going to do that today. That's not really part of my presentation today, but I wanted to tell you that that has been an influence on me, and to suggest that you might want to at least take a look at it, if not, give it a try. So but when we do the breathing, we're going to breathe both into our chest and into our abdomen. So before we do it with the exercises, physical exercises, I'd like you to just take a moment and just experience. You can do it sitting or standing. First, what it's like to breathe into your chest, which would be sort of expanding your chest would go up. And then for the diaphragm, the chest doesn't go up, but if you put your hands on your stomach, and breathe in, you should feel your stomach go out. And then if you do both, it's chest and abdomen. And that, what it really does is it fully inflates your lungs. And also deep breathing stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight, gets your adrenaline going. The parasympathetic is a calming effect. And so it's very helpful both for meditation and pain and all kinds of, when people are feeling agitated or anxious, to do deep breathing exercises. So let's just take a couple of breaths together and experiment, seeing if you can fill both your chest and your abdomen. I'm going to do it with you. And when you exhale, blow the air out, push the air out with your diaphragm. Don't just let the recoil of your lungs make the air come out. You breathe in through the nose, obviously out through the mouth. Okay, let's try to do some of that incorporated into some of these physical exercises. I have a whole much more elaborate program that I do, but it's on my YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that's just my name. It's Richard Norris MD is my YouTube channel. If you put in my name, you'll see my picture. That's not quite my channel yet. You have to click on my picture and that will take you to my channel. And then you go under videos and you'll see it's the first 1 or 2 videos. I have my TaiChi program that's a more comprehensive thing. I'm just going to simplify it to do about 4 exercises so as to not overwhelm it by throwing out 10 or 15 exercises. But I do about a half an hour. My morning routine runs about a half an hour, including the breathing exercises. So I'm going to start here with very simple, basic one. And that is, it's kind of a spinal, if you think of a whip action, the action that a whip makes. So it's working the spine. I'll do it first from the front and then from the side, but it's incorporating the breathing. So I breathe out, just let everything just hang. And as I'm hitting the bottom of hanging, I'm already starting to reverse it and breathing in. My arms are completely relaxed. I'm leading with my chest. And then as I approach the bottom, I let my head relax, but I start tucking my pelvis under. So my pelvis is actually rocking back and forth. My spine is kind of doing, I could do it from this side, you may appreciate better. Breathe out. My shoulders roll back here as I breathe in to help facilitate taking that deep breath. And if I was to pause here, I'd be hanging. And feel free to do it with me. I'm going to do it a number of times and I'll do it slowly. Breathe out. Breathe in. And notice my head is going up. And here I'm letting my head fall. I start to engage my back and my neck muscles, my back muscles. Breathe out. Okay, and again, that's on my YouTube channel, so you can review that as much as you like. The second one, we're going to start using the arms, and that's, and again, all these have a very similar quality. You know, in yin yang and Tai Chi, it's all very circular. There's never a pause in the motion. So just as you reach the end, you're already starting the next move. So if your arm is going this way, as it's reaching it, your body's already turning so that your arm's coming out, for example. So this next one, we're going to be going up and down, and you can adjust how far down you go depending on your abilities. But we're going to incorporate the arms so that when we breathe in, we're going to be going up. And as we reach the end range here, we're already starting to go down. So the arms are, I'm not going to do it with the breathing so I can talk, but this is what it would look like as your head and chest open up, your head goes up, your chest opens up. And as you're starting to reach the end range, you can't go back any further with your shoulders. You're already starting to cave in at the chest. Drop your head so it looks like that. So you breathe out, breathe. You can either let your arms overlap like this, or you can have your hands just come together in the front like this, either one. And I'll do it from the side. So there's no pausing. It's one thing flows right into the other. And in fact, when I do these whole series of exercises, I choreograph them almost like if you're familiar with vinyasa yoga, which is where one yoga pose flows right into the next rather than each one being a static and separate pose. These exercises are made to flow one into the other without pausing. So there's no stopping. You go from one directly to the next one. All right, so the next one that I want to do is really for opening the chest. Here, my feet are shoulder width apart, okay? And before I do the upper body part, I want to show you the feet, because what I'm doing here is I'm rotating my foot out as I go to the, and I'm going to bend into that knee, and then I'm going to rotate back and rotate here and bend into that knee. So let's just do that a couple of times slowly. This is very TaiChi. Bend into that knee, rotate the foot in. As I shift my weight back to this side, that lets me rotate on my heel here, because now my weight is largely over this foot. And then I shift my weight onto this knee here, shift my weight back here, rotate this foot in, rotate this foot out into that. So let's just do that a couple of times slowly. Notice that my body's not leaning, my body's staying vertical, my torso. All right, now let's add the arms. So what I'm going to be doing here with the upper body is breathe in. And as I reach this same position where my shoulders can't go back any further, my head is up, my chest is open and out, I'm already closing in as I rotate this side. My hands are coming like that and opening up here. So this would be breathing out, breathing in. And this feels so good. I just want to do this about 1,000 times. So it's breathe out. Now, if you wanted to, you could do this faster. You could do it whatever speed feels comfortable for you, and you can experiment with doing it faster or slower. But see how the hands rotate, so that now you're pushing out, they come back and they rotate out again, chest up at this point. And as you're reaching this, you're already starting to reverse the motion. So again, there's no pausing as you're doing this. Breathe in. Okay, 2 more. The next one, I don't know if any of you have done yoga. I know Jen is a yogi. When I was her age, I used to do sun salutes, and I loved sun salutes, but I've had hand problems and wrist problems as I've gotten older, and I really can't bear weight on my hands. And the sun salute is just a little bit too extreme for me. So I came up with an old man sun salute. I don't really call it that. I call it Tierra Sol because it's sky and the earth. It's very much like the sun salutes. It has very much the same feeling, and I'll show you how it goes. In fact, I'll usually go into it from this one that I'm doing here. This was the first one that we did, because as I go from here, I just bring my arms up overhead. I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Overhead, and I'm slightly leaning back, so I'm opening up my chest, head up again, and then I come down and I'm bringing my arms out as far as I can, and as I come down, I rotate my arms so my pinkies are almost up, and as I'm all the way out, I can't reach any further. It's like a breaststroke. I'm doing a breaststroke, and same thing, rotate, keep my arms close to my body here, go up to the ceiling, and as I reach up, I'm rotating my hands out and around. Now watch, I'm keeping my back flat though, as I'm not, this time I'm not doing that whip thing that we did the first one, but I'm going from here, kind of sticking my butt out, breaststroke, breathe out, breathe in. And back to the front.
I love the swimming analogy. It's so great.
Oh, it is. It feels like I'm swimming through the air. Here's another, this is almost like the breaststroke up here. And I do about 30 of those because it just feels so good. I just don't want to stop. It works your quads, it works your glutes, it works your upper back muscles because you're holding your back up here. So it's really good physical exercise, but because it's slow and meditative and involves deep breathing, it's also very relaxing, which kind of seems counterintuitive how an exercise could be strengthening and a little bit of cardio, but at the same time be very, very relaxing. So I think that was it. That was all the breathing exercises that I wanted to do and show you. There are more, but you can make up your own variations. I mean, I do this all the time. I come up with new exercises. I'll sometimes, instead of doing this one, I'll just do it where I open like this and close and open and close. You can just do, this one. They're all very, very similar. The whole concept is very similar. Oh, there was one other one that I wanted to do. For those of you who have taken ballet or know something about ballet, this is grand plie second position. So what we're doing here is, without the arms first, we're just basically going down and going up, keeping your back straight, keeping your knees over your toes, okay? Try not to let your knees turn in. You want to keep your knees over your toes and just go down as far as is comfortable for you. Heels stay on the ground. You're not going on. It's not grand plie second position where you go up on the balls of your feet. And then breathe in. Let me back out so you can see my arm. 1 sec. I don't know, my arms are disappearing here. Oh, I know, I have to tilt the screen up, not down. Sorry, my bad. And here, looking up, breathing in, and as it comes down here, let them float down. Here, your breath fills up. It's like a big balloon. The breath is filling up your arms, and it's the breath, the intake of the breath, that makes your arms go up. And then the balloon starts to deflate, and it comes here, and it settles down to earth. So big breath. Very relaxing. Now this can flow right into another one, whereas instead of letting your arms come down like this, as the arms come down, you bring them back to this position here. In other words, they're back behind your body and your shoulder blades are drawn together and you push out. Breathe in. And you feel you're pushing through the air like the air is thick. And then when your hand comes up, it's like pulling taffy. Pushing the thick air, pulling the taffy. This is the active, the the yang, and then the yin part here. It floats up. The breath makes your arms float up.
So the yang is the breathing out and the yin is maybe pulling in more?
Yeah, breathing out and breathing in. Breathing out, in. Okay. Then if you want to play with an advanced technique, then I do this one. This is on the video for those of you who want to try to do more advanced stuff. So let's stop there for a minute. And I want to do a little bit of talking about the meditation. And again, there are many different kinds of meditation, as you certainly know. The most basic one that's probably common to many disciplines is following the breathing, so that all the exercises we just did, you don't have to set aside separate time for meditation. You could be focusing on your breath while you're doing these exercises because they're all really about the breath. But there are other types of meditation. One useful type is what they call open meditation, where instead of focusing on the breath, you just focus on whatever it is that's going on in the moment. This is very handy. For example, if there's construction or noise. I remember having a roommate in medical school who used to come down and say, "Could you guys please be quiet? I'm trying to meditate." But when I was doing the 30-day Vipassana course, there was construction going on outside and stuff. And they just said, whatever it is that goes on, if you find yourself hearing the noise, then you focus on the noise. If you're getting agitated because of the noise, then you focus on the agitation. Whatever it is that comes up becomes the focus of your meditation. So that's a very useful way to meditate. And taking that one step further, you can narrow down the focus. And this is where the chronic pain issue comes in. And that is focusing on the nature of thought. Because one of the things that becomes obvious when you do open meditation and you're basically examining the moment, and like, what does the moment consist of? And all you ever find when you examine the moment is a constantly changing kaleidoscope of senses: taste, sound, smells, touches, and thoughts, which include feelings and emotions and things like that, which are sort of a type of thought. But you can choose to just focus on thoughts. And I often think of it like a cat sitting in front of a mouse hole waiting for the mouse. That cat is totally focused on watching for the mouse. It doesn't hear noise going on or whatever. So you could say, I'm going to just meditate and I'm going to study the nature of thought, because thought plays such a major role in pain and emotional disturbance, all kinds of things. So it's really worthwhile to learn about thought, because you can't begin to manage something or deal with something until you first understand it. So like a scientist, when they study something, they don't have, or a good scientist doesn't have an agenda. They just want to observe and see what's there. So to study the nature of thought, to see how it arises, how it exists, and how it passes away, as do all the senses. I mean, every sense that you focus on arises, exists, and passes away. That's the fundamental nature of the sensory world. But with thought, it's so helpful because I had an Aikido teacher who said he really tries to teach meditation, but he can't get Americans to sit still. So the only way he can get people to meditate is through Aikido. But he would have a student stand there and he would slowly move his fist towards them and he'd say, "Here comes a problem. You don't want problems. Don't be there for them. Step off the line. And by that, he meant stepping back into the side so that the fist or the problem would go past you. And I realized that it was the same thing with thoughts, that if you could, but in order to step off the line, you have to see the problem coming. If you're going across the street, but before you step into the street, you look down the street and you see a truck barreling down the street at 70 miles an hour. You have time to get back up on the curb. But if you're not paying attention, the next thing you know, it's on you and it's too late. And it's the same thing with thought. If you can learn to see thought coming as it arises, you have a chance to step off the line, and you don't even have to do anything to it. You just have to say, oh yeah, there's that, and it will just pass by you and pass away. The reason the thought is so important is that I had this very profound experience during the meditation, the 30-day retreat I did. And believe me, in 30 days, your mind can get pretty quiet. So I had chronic shoulder pain at that time, and I was in Massachusetts. My stick shift VW van was in Northern California, and I was going to have to, after the retreat, fly back to California and drive 2,000 miles back to medical school in Mexico, which is where I was going to medical school. And it's a stick shift, and I was having chronic rotator cuff problems, and I was anxious and worried about it. So I'd be sitting there meditating, and I'd move just a little bit, and I'd get a twinge of pain in my shoulder. And because I was meditating, the first thing was I would just feel a feeling. And then I would watch in slow motion how my brain would label that feeling, oh, pain. And then the next thing I knew, a whole slew of emotions and worries and thoughts, and how am I going to drive back? And my chest would start to get tight and my heart would be pounding. But it was fascinating to watch this happen almost in slow motion, like in old time movies that were on film, where you could slow it down and watch one frame at a time. And I found that that's what meditation tends to do. It slows down the speed of the film. So you have a chance to, if you see the thought coming, you see emotion is a thought that triggers a physiological response. If you just have a thought, I'm going to have a bagel for breakfast tomorrow, that doesn't usually trigger an emotional response unless you really love bagels and you've been waiting for this Zabar's bagel that somebody's bringing to you from New York. But normally it's just a neutral thought. But if it's an anxiety thought, right on the heels of the thought follows a release of adrenaline that starts your heart pounding and your hands get sweaty and all that. But if you can see it, if you can catch it as it comes up and it's just a thought, you have a chance to step back up on the curb and just let it pass by without triggering that whole flood of emotions. Because once you got that adrenaline pumping, you just have to ride out the storm. There's really not a lot you can do at that point. So anyway, that's why it's so helpful and important to meditate on the nature of thought, so that you first learn how it behaves and how it acts, so that over time, and this is a skill that you can get better and better at with practice, like any other skill. And it's always relapses. Nobody ever masters this. I mean, unless, you're like the Dalai Lama and you've been meditating since you were 3 years old and you just have mastered it. But for most people, it's a question of, oh yeah, falling back into it. But you keep practicing it, but at least you know what to practice and how to practice. So I guess at this point, if there's any questions, I'll take questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Norris. That was fascinating and very apt, I thought. Very good. I will stop the recording so people might feel comfortable unmuting yourself, asking questions, comments.